Meeting to order. Today's date is Monday, November the 13th. The time is 5:30 p.m. I want to welcome you all to City Hall, and hopefully you'll get a chance to see your city government at work this evening. Thank you for your attendance. We're going to start off with a prayer and also with the Pledge of Allegiance being led by Coach Dean's lady soccer players from Boyle County High School. But for prayer tonight, let me ask you all to bow your heads. Let's do a moment of silence, and there's lots of reasons why we should do a moment of silence as we look at the things that are going on around us in our world and in our country and in our state and even in our own community. And as you do that, we lost a long-time serving city commissioner, Mr. Andy Bryant, last week. And then I got word today that former city commissioner Paul Smalley, his wife passed. So as we do a moment of silence, let's keep all those things in our minds and in our hearts. Thank you all. The lady soccer players, you want to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Notice I said ladies, right?
Yeah, look at it.
Right, who in here, right? I'll see, salute. Oh, you all guys know what I do, right? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Stay right there, just to face the crowd. Yeah, don't go anywhere, right?
Yeah, have them every time. Just come in and lead the pledge.
Okay, Coach Dean, you want to come down and take the mic and tell us about these young ladies while we've invited them here to be recognized? You know, we're excited about the Final Four, but you can tell us some other accomplishments throughout the course of the seasons.
Well, I think, do I take this off? I really think just what's most important is just what they're able to do as student athletes.
Yes.
The academic requirements that they have to do, the time they have to put in for for practice and preparation and game nights and coming home late and maintaining those academic standards that they have to do in the classroom is exceptional. It's preparing them for life after high school. I think that's something that we pride ourselves on at the school, is to prepare them for the next level. Athletically, they did fantastic. We were that team that wasn't supposed to be at the big dance, but we found a way to get our ticket in there. And I think a lot of that comes by the fact that they were a very tight-knit group this year. We have a number of freshmen and sophomores and even middle schoolers that are not with us that buy into that same mentality. And with that, they just galvanized and went out there and competed. And they did an outstanding job representing the school and our community. So I'm a fortunate man that I got to be able to work with them.
Thank you, sir. Let's give them a round of applause. We'd like to present you as members of the team with a small token. It's a key to the city of Danville. How about that, right? And look, we're going to give each one of them one, but I know you have some folks who are not here, so there's about 20 of them altogether. So you.
Oh, I'll take care of them. Yes, sir.
And if you have some left over, give them back to the city manager because he charges me for all those.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
So let's take a picture with them and then give them all the keys to the city. Oh, wait. Where's it? Coffee girl? Are you coffee girl? She's the city manager's daughter, and besides just being a soccer player, she does a lot of other crazy things. They say they stuffed the ballot out there, and she got elected as the homecoming queen. Right?
Okay, let's make 2 lines. Give me one, 2 more.
One more in the front. Someone has. All right. You guys push in. Coach.
Now you see why I don't like pictures.
Okay, you guys get some. So sad. All right. Ready? Big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Thanks.
Well, I like what the coach did. The first thing he talked about was about the academics, and that is the most important part of it. So that's a great way to start our meeting off. Now, I went ahead and did that, commissioners, but without getting you to approve tonight's agenda. So the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda, including number 1, which we just completed.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you all. I'm not going to skip this. I'm going to go back to the section of our agenda that says through the public. But before I do that, I want to recognize that the county judge exec is in our chambers tonight. And I also want to recognize the fact that former Mayor John Bowen is in the chamber tonight. And it's always nice to have other elected, still concerned citizens attending our meeting. So welcome to both of you all tonight. Okay, so here the public. Raise your hand, be recognized. You can take 3 minutes or less. We would really stress the 3 minutes or less part because we have about 75 things on our agenda tonight. So anyone from the public wants to speak to us about items that are on our agenda only at this time. And it's our customary rule that we listen to you, and we thank you, and then we try not to respond to you. Seeing no hands, let's move right along then. So the next item on the agenda is we have a zone change recommendation, Heartland and Ridgeville, and Michaela Gary with a G is going to present that to us.
I
Thank you,
know,
ma'am.
it's a
Mayor,
hard last
Mayor,
name.
before we start that presentation, I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to, I'm going to recuse myself for this matter. I believe it was probably 2 years ago when this first came before the commission. I had previously represented Jody Sharp in his initial zone change request before the Planning Commission that was approved and came to this commission for discussion. I've not represented Mr. Sharp since that time period. However, due to even a slight appearance of conflict and just personal integrity and ethics legally, I'm going to recuse myself to allow any potential contamination of the conversation. So if you'll let me know, City Manager, when it's over, and I'll return. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
All right. The Danville County Planning and Zoning Commission met in regular session on October 25th, 2023, in the Danville City Commission chambers with six members present for this zoning map amendment in order to rezone 32.484 acres located at Heartland Drive and Ridgeview Road. This is south of Colonial Heights, north of Candlewood. I know you all are pretty familiar with this application. It has access through a stub street that exists on Ridgeview Road and a stub street that exists on Heartland Drive currently. After the request was to go from single-family residential R1A to single-family residential R1C. The primary differences between these zoning districts is that R1A allows for larger lot sizes, R1C allows for smaller lot sizes, higher density than what's allowed in R1A. After a public hearing had been conducted on the proposed amendment, the Planning Commission's vote was 4 yeas and 2 nays for a recommendation of denial to the Danville City Commission. The Planning Commission recommends denial as there has not been sufficient demonstration of conformity with the comprehensive plan, and particularly no showing of compatibility as set out in the residential development guidance We also find that there has been no conclusive showing of major changes, as the Planning Commission was unable to vet the 2022 housing report in order to weigh its support of the application. As far as the residential development guidance, that is in the staff report, so you can see that it's taken straight from the comprehensive plan, and staff just added some additional analysis in italics. But is there any questions for me?
Any questions from the commission?
Is Mr. Sharp currently R1A, or was he grandfathered in?
He's currently R1A. He rezoned that whole area, Candlewood, Colonial Heights, and the subject property at the same time along, sorry, I didn't get the date, but it was quite some time ago. Yep.
So it's always been zoned a neighborhood
Yeah, yep, it's always been
for
zoned
about 40 years?
Yeah, at
Okay.
least.
And
There
it's-
has been one zone change in Candlewood along Winning Colors. That was approved to go from R1A to R1C, but the rest of it remains R1A.
Other questions or comments?
I guess I wasn't on the commission, so I want to ask this question. It may have been
Yep.
answered. But it said the traffic study impact is required for the development, but it was waived. Was there a reason for that?
The city engineer reserves the right to waive it, so it might be better to ask him. But essentially, my understanding of the reasoning is that for a zoning map amendment, with the existing development, it would allow for approximately 111 lots, 105. We're looking at about an additional 20 lots. So to do it for the zoning map amendment seemed like a big burden, and we might not learn that much from it, but it's really just to postpone it until, or unless the zoning map amendment is approved and we got to the subdivision plat phase. Once he actually starts engineering the project, we would look at it then.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last time. If the rezone gets approved, we would then do the traffic study at the construction plan phase. Because for this, particularly this development, it's not about how much vehicular traffic these roads can handle, because there are different routes out, and to be able to handle the volume. It's about which direction people will go, and also one of the concerns was traffic cutting through. So we would look at those kind of things. We would try to see if there's measures, traffic calming measures we could do to slow down traffic that would reduce the amount of cut-through traffic that came through there and slow them down. And I think we had a lot of discussions back then about just what traffic studies, what they're actually for. And, if you do a true engineering traffic study on this project, it's just going to say, yes, connecting to both neighborhoods. Yes, you need to maybe put a turn lane in at the exit out onto Kentucky 33 or something like that. It may spit out something like that. But it's not going to impact whether there's an ability to do the development. I think that's one of the things that we wanted to communicate here, that traffic studies are going a little bit out of style. Is that, Michaela, am I okay? Like,
Yeah.
in the industry, they're kind of going out of style because that's what people are finding out. It's actually causing traffic to go too fast through neighborhoods, because traffic studies are spitting out, hey, do big wide roads and big turn lanes and speed up everybody going through out of these neighborhoods so we can move traffic. But that's not necessarily what the neighborhoods want. The neighborhoods want traffic to get bogged down a little bit and slow down, and the trucks move slowly through when they're doing construction. So we were going to attack it in that direction, and we've had discussions with the developer and his engineer of, hey, we want to do a few little tweaks with your development as you get into the construction plan phase, which is at the point that I actually review their plans and approve them. I don't have any review authority at this point on their plans. At that point, I can review and say, hey, we want to put a four-way stop in here, or we want to offset these streets to make sure that people are slowing down as they approach these intersections, things like that, to promote a safe environment for the neighborhoods, because that's one of the big concerns with this, is that we have a safe environment for all the neighborhoods around this development.
Yeah, and it's not unusual to wait till the construction plan phase. It's actually unique here, at least from my experience, to have it done at the zone change phase.
Michaela, let's take a minute and point out a couple of things. So the plan originally came in February 2022. It was considered at the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was passed to the City Commission, and it was ultimately rejected at the City Commission. And so he has resubmitted it.
Yes, we had a 12-month waiting period,
Right.
so he exceeded that.
So,
Yeah.
but he didn't just repeat the same submittal. So one of the complaints that we heard back then is the question was asked, did you properly integrate your different densities with your neighbors? And so the complaint that we heard from the neighborhood, particularly on the Colonial Heights side, was there larger lots than that on Winning Colors. And so explain what he has tried to do to accommodate that complaint. I think it's important to understand for the community that this is not the same submittal regurgitated.
Yep. Yeah, if you take a look at the drawing, it should be in the recommendation letter that I sent you. This time around, he did submit a conceptual plan. I think it was a pretty vague submittal for the previous application, but he is showing a conceptual lot layout. Along the northern part of the subject property, which adjoins or borders Colonial Heights, he is showing larger lot size to help with that transition, so more closely emulate what you see in Colonial Heights. He's also showing a stub street, so he is showing the connection between Ridgeview Road and Heartland Drive. In my opinion, the subdivision regulations require this connection, so whether he's showing it on the conceptual plan or not, if the zone change were to be approved and he came in with construction plans, we'd be requiring that connection. We'd also require this stub street that he's showing. It almost looks like another lot, but just to the south of Ridgeview Road, he is showing a stub street that connects to that undeveloped area by Green Acres. So that's an additional thing that the subregs would require. But yeah, like Earl said, he is trying to show that transition with larger lots adjoining Colonial Heights and then kind of transitioning to the smaller lot sizes that are allowed in R1C.
So it's not just a blanket request to alter the lots to assimilate into an R1C. It is really a conditioned concept plan around the lots on either side of it so that it's a smoother transition. Like lots are adjacent to like lots on the seam, especially the building seams along the property. In terms of transportation, some of the questions that I've gotten was the connection to Bergen Road. And you know, one of the things that the commission will want to think about is in the same way off of Ridgeview, there's a connection that is pointed to the east. Do you want to make a connection to the north in that property, not understanding fully that there's nowhere for that to go right now, but do you want to take to the opportunity to preserve that future connection with a concept plan? That's something that you want to talk about in terms of traffic.
Yeah, just add on to that, Earl, the reason we didn't have them shown on the conceptual plan is because our subregs require it with the undeveloped area over 10 acres. The Ramey property, I think, is about 7, so that's why we weren't requiring it, but that doesn't mean that's not something the commission can look at, but that's why it wasn't shown originally.
That got a lot of discussion last time too about another exit besides just these two main roads.
Yeah, I think the comprehensive plan does show that connection. It's just that the developer doesn't currently own it, and like I said, it doesn't have that 10 acres, so.
So bottom line is, if you were to preserve it, it may or may not ever be developed,
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
bottom line.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Well, I have a comment. My comment is there's a lot to digest here, and I would like a little more time to do so, if that doesn't mess with his timeline, you know.
That's a good question. So the deadline when Ms. Jerry and I talked today is the end of January.
Yes, 90 days from when Planning Commission took action, which was October 25th.
So you have 4 regular scheduled commission meetings. Once you make a decision, we normally have a first reading and second reading. So if you totally got out of schedule with those 4 meetings and were compressed, we'd have probably end up with a special call meeting towards the end. But I do feel like that with the 4 meetings, you don't need to make a decision tonight. It's something that we could certainly come back in 2 weeks and talk about it again on how you want to proceed. Big thing for us tonight is we don't have counsel. I didn't bring counsel tonight because I didn't anticipate you all making a decision, really having a process. tonight. You've got a couple of base options. You can accept the recommendation and move forward. You can take their record and accept their record and then have a different finding than the Planning and Zoning Commission did, or you can have a totally new hearing. So y'all will want to think about that and introduce new evidence or have the evidence presented to you afresh, anew, right? And that's as simple as you can say that in terms of, those are your base three options if you.
Yeah, I would say the last option is you take no action, and then by order of law, planning commission recommendation is in place, so.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm not supporting, I'm just saying that is.
No,
Yeah, the fourth action is that. If you take no action, if you do nothing, then the Planning
It
and
would be
Zoning Commission's
denied.
affirmed. Yeah.
Well, and the other question I had is, in this last hearing, we heard from lots and lots of neighborhood folks. There were a lot of neighborhood concerns. Did you hear those neighborhood concerns all over again, or what?
Yeah, we had several people come out for the public hearing, but they essentially elected one spokesperson. I believe that he was intended to speak for the whole neighborhood, so he gathered their thoughts and presented a speech. So we didn't get as many numbers, I think, as
Sure, that's right.
the first time around. I obviously wasn't there for that, but I did watch those meetings, so.
But those same concerns were voiced again, though.
Yeah, I would say it was pretty similar. Those should be in the minutes as far as what was spoken.
So I would like to clarify one thing too. Just to get it out there and to be honest and talk about it is a lot of the discussion was centered around the size of house. And that's not really appropriate at this stage to consider. When you're talking about the zoning, you're talking about the land use and the geometry tied to each individual lot. And so ultimately, what the developer is asking for is under the R1C, a different road frontage is allowed, which enables him to do a deeper lot potentially. And some of these lots, I'd consider them deeper. And so it gives him an opportunity to maybe have the same square footage house on a more narrow lot. And so if you can go to different developments in Lexington where developers are seeing an increased cost per mile thing for the infrastructure. So the cost of the road, the cost of water, the cost of sewers going up. And so what the move is not necessarily they're trying to stabilize the size of housing by rearranging the geometry of the lots. Now, all that's fine because they end up with more lots per mile, and so it makes it easier to afford the increased cost of infrastructure. So that's the developer's argument the developer will make, and something for you all to think about, and we can certainly talk about that more at length if you want to. But at the end of the day, size of the house is not really part of the conversation. You can't require the developer to place that restriction on the development. The market will control that once the lots are created, and I think we all need to understand that. What did he agree to, though, in style of housing?
Let me read this here. He agreed to single-family detached, no manufactured housing. That is an important point to make because in R1C, we do allow for a little bit more flexibility in housing type versus R1A. So basically by those stipulations, he's agreeing to keep the style of development the same as R1A or R1B if he went to R1C with the single-family detached, which is what you see in Colonial Heights and Candlewood now. He just didn't want to stipulate to minimum house size, essentially.
And the new proposal contains how many lots?
I believe it's 124. Yep, 124.
And under R1A, he's allowed to put how many in?
I think it was about 111, 110. Kendall didn't actually draw it up, so that was his best estimate. So he did lose some lots. He was originally showing 128. He reduced it to 124 with the larger lots along Colonial Heights, and then with the Stubb Street added in, so.
Right.
So go ahead.
I just said, okay. Go ahead.
So is the builder essentially wanting to add 15 lots because roads and curb and gutter and sidewalks,
Yeah, I
the
think
cost
what-
of them are a lot more? Is that why? Based on the
Yeah, I don't want to
presentation?
speak for the
I'm not going to
developer,
speak
but
for him, and I'm
yeah.
not trying to introduce that as evidence, but I'm saying that that is what the industry is saying right now,
About 30% higher?
is what you,
Okay.
yeah, it's trying to absorb the impact of construction, and you're seeing, so I know when I had my house on Boadventure, our garage was on the side. The style of housing you're seeing now is front-facing garages, and when you see those entry-level homes particularly, that are like 1,600 square feet per floor ranch-style development, they're turning those, your garage is facing the street, and that allows for a more narrow lot, which puts more homes per mile on the given cost of infrastructure. That's what you'll hear, and I'm verbalizing that, not as a statement of, in support of anything. I'm balancing that with, that's what you'll hear if you want to do a further discussion and bring the developer in to present their case. That's just one of the things you'll hear verbalized.
Yeah. And there was discussion about the 2022 housing report as part of the record. I didn't include it. It's a document that, has been circulated, but there is a little bit of talk about the need for more dense housing due to rising costs and things like that, so.
Okay.
But any infill, we need to make sure is properly planned, and the seam between one development and another development is accommodating for those existing homes. I think that's an important statement to add.
Mr. Cottle, you, we're going to have a motion or have a suggestion for us?
I have one more question, if I
All right.
could, if I can remember what it was. So if Jody had not asked for his own change, he could be putting in a road right now and developing this as R1A?
Yes, with approval from planning commission and city engineering, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Michaela, he's had the first phase has been approved, hasn't
He
it?
has, yeah, he
Yeah.
does have an approved phase that shows that connection and some lots along it, but, yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
No, you finish.
no, I was going to make a motion that we, I guess, table this till next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do
That
that.
sounds good. We'll finish discussion first. I forgot what I was going to say. What were we
Yeah.
talking about?
And still can't ask questions. I'll second that, and we
Okay.
can still have a
And
conversation.
probably moving second that we will table this issue, but there's still a question on the floor. So yes, ma'am, what's your question?
I don't remember.
You'll have 2 weeks to
Rubbing
think.
We'll have 2 weeks to
All right.
Yeah.
think about
Is
that.
Mr. Sharp here? He's not
No.
here? Okay. I thought he might want to make a comment. Okay.
I don't know that
Is it-
he's allowed.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
probably not.
Oh, I know the one thing, I know, I don't know what point they make the developer commits a letter of credit. I know when a developer says, I'm going to do a neighborhood, they put up a lot of money.
They do.
Because they have to commit to the streets, the roads, the infrastructure,
Yeah.
and actually have a letter of credit at a bank.
Yes.
So it is a big deal. They almost have to make sure they'll get a return on their investment. So to me, that's probably why he asked for more lots. Would he have to get a letter of credit, I guess, at the development phase?
He would, so
Okay.
basically our process goes, he would bring in a preliminary plat, and we would give it preliminary approval, and then we would give final plat approval. At that point, we would take in construction plans and a cost estimate. I would run it through utilities and engineering, make sure we're good with the cost estimate shown. Then I bring it to planning commission, they accept the cost estimate, and at that point, we take either a 20% bonding option or a 100% bonding option. The 100% bonding option allows them to record the plat and start selling off lots and build as they go. The 20%, they have to build it all up front before we record it. But, so yeah, it's essentially at construction plan phase. For the one that was submitted, it was just a phase of this property, and we have not received any bonds on it or anything.
Is the preliminary plat for Colonial Heights number 2 still active? Up at the end,
Is that the one that
it had like 12
that we had?
lots?
Yeah, it's active for 3
Okay.
years, even if
Okay.
he doesn't take action on it, so. So I think he probably has about 2 years left.
Yeah.
In that area, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
He
we
could
have a-
phase the project.
We have a motion that's been made and properly second. We've had some discussion. I'm going to
I had a
call.
question yet for you. I'm sorry.
That's all right, go ahead.
Real quick ones.
Yeah.
In the previous discussion, there was some talk about putting a buffer between Colonial Heights and this development. And I didn't see that in the minutes. Is that still something that's Jody's considering, or there's a,
That is not a condition that Jody brought forward, so.
yeah, some kind of a tree buffer
Yep.
hadn't been talked about?
Yeah, it's not something he brought forward as a condition of approval.
Okay, yeah, we talked quite a bit about maybe a cul-de-sac or a very thick tree buffer to protect, you know, the integrity of different neighborhoods while allowing development. So
Yeah,
it was talked about a lot last time, but not really.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there was a little bit discussion mostly about housing size at the planning commission phase, but ultimately they recommended denial, so there was no need to ask for additional conditions of approval.
Thank you,
And,
ma'am.
Yes?
You got
Yeah,
another
question, yeah, question two, sorry. Environmental study, was that already done? or-
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, is that something we probably need to do?
I don't believe we would need to. Josh, do you?
I don't think that's required in any of our
Okay,
documents. Sometimes we'll ask for a geological study. I think we did that on the zone change with the distillery because they were concerned about spills and issues like that if there was a fire or something in that situation, but I don't think we've ever asked for that on a residential zone change. And that land is previously disturbed. I mean, it's been farmland. I don't think that's something that we would, I mean, if it was one of our projects, we would, because we would have some requirements with like, endangered bats and things like that, but a private developer, I don't think it's something we've ever.
yeah, I noticed that it was in, minutes as was addressed on the slopes, and they seemed to be approved, but there was also some concern about displacing wildlife and
Yeah.
I'm going to try again. I'm going to call for the question on the motion. All those in favor, a yea vote would say you voted in favor of table this at least until the next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you. The motion carries
We will have outside counsel at the next meeting.
for our
Prepared
benefit, right?
For your benefit.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. The next item on our agenda is for the housing, let me do this. I know you all are on the agenda to do presentations. I'm gonna ask the clerk's leaving on me. I was gonna ask the clerk to set me a clock at about 5 minutes so we can sort of do a 5-minute limit, but if some serious stuff after 5 minutes, we might consider it, but let's see if we can move some things along. So, Rachel White, you're next, Housing Authority presentation.
Thank you, Mayor,
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioners. The Housing Authority presents an annual address to funds that we receive from the federal government. It was time to develop a 5-year plan to work with our funds, and this is what we're putting before you. Approximately $6 million will be spent over the next 5 years on infrastructure at our various developments, as well as the modernization of Arnold Tower. Arnold Tower was built in 1972 without any major renovations to the apartments. They are, the plan is to go ahead and make all of them studio-style apartments with handicap accessibility to them to address the needs of our population. The other document you have is our annual plan that was developed 4 years ago. It's going into its last phase. There's basically an explanation on the different goals that were, and initiatives that were established. And some of them were met as far as modernization of other sites. Some of them were not met, which was to address developing more public housing, and that just doesn't seem to be in the cards. That requires the federal government to want to release more funds for development, and right now that's not high on the agenda for our federal government to do. So that's about it in a nutshell.
One comment,
Yes, sir?
you feel real comfortable in your role at that microphone.
Lots of years of practice,
Been
sir.
well, right? Okay. Commissioners, any questions, Mrs. White?
Good to see you,
No,
Mrs.
I'm
White.
thank you, thank you. Yes, well, thank you all for your time and patience, and we look forward to showing you some wonderful changes to our community and upgrades.
Before you leave, though, I'd like to ask the commission's permission to do item number 9 next, the
Thank
Housing Authority
you.
appointment, so she can be here to witness whether in fact this young man gets appointed or not. How about that, right? Is that okay, guys?
On the, I want to say,
there a
on
question?
this, do
Oh.
you know, when will you start with the, upgrades and things? Do you know?
The funding is already available.
Right.
We have to submit all of our documentation. The Housing Authority Commission will be meeting on the
21st?
21st.
And once they approve it, Linda will go ahead and submit it, and it'll be the architect's turn.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Number 9, Housing Authority appointment. Commissioners, you have a name in front of you. You've had it since last Friday. Well, you've had it longer than that, really, but is there a motion to approve this young man as a new member of the Housing Authority Board?
I'll make a motion to approve the motion, request as presented.
Mr. Steve Sullivan.
Sutherland.
You wanna-
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, he's waving. You second it, Steve?
Backing it.
He want to know he's here, all right? Any questions or comments? All those in favor of this new appointment to the Housing Authority Board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Sutherland. Look forward to working with you, yeah. Okay, thank you guys for that. Let's move right along. Mr. Cowell, the Airport Board update. Oh, Rachel, thanks for being under 5 minutes. How about that?
So do I get the difference?
No, sir, you do not get your time. Let's see. Come on, Rob.
All right. Well, thanks for inviting me up. I'll see if I can get this done in 5 minutes. That said, then I'm going to read so I can move along a little more quickly.
You're good, you're good.
And as Stuart Powell used to say, I'm here to report on your airport.
Yes, that's right. Amen.
And I'm happy to do that again. The managers and staff are staying busy, providing great customer service while keeping the airfield safe and well-groomed. If you've been out there, you'd notice that they've done just a super job this year, again. There's lots of interest from schools and various civic organizations to tour the airport, and the managers are always welcome to do that, and we enjoy seeing those pictures on social media, so they do that in addition to their daily tasks, and I just wanted to point that out and how much we appreciate what they do. It's Christian and Nick Barker that manage our airfield, and they're just doing a super job. And they enjoy exposing the community to aviation, so they really like performing these tours. The Kentucky Department of Aviation recently gave us a grant to install new software that will track airport operations. And we have been keeping up with our operations, but as it turns out, now that we are tracking 99% of them, we have even more than we thought we had. And in the last 7 months, we've averaged over 2,000 operations per month. So when you think about that little strip of asphalt, it's quite busy. We have, and on our airfield, we have Nate Hammond as the Ghostwriter Air Show that succeeded his father that had that facility up near the highway before when he was part of the Pepsi Skyrider group. And he has made it in less than 10 years to the top of his industry and received what was called the Bill Barber Award at the world's largest air show this summer. That is a who's who of performers in the world. And we have him in Danville on our airfield. And he performed probably the lead nighttime show at the largest air show in the world this year at Oshkosh. And he started early this spring, and he's still performing air shows. And in addition to that, he's on the Air Show Performers Board. And so he's active with them, and we have him right here in Danville, in Boyle County. The Civil Air Patrol remains extremely active. And just recently, I was at a function, a city-sponsored function out at the Boyle County Schools, and he cornered me to let me know how much he appreciated that the local Civil Air Patrol squadron was helping with the wreaths over America and putting flags out at the National Cemetery there in Marion County. So what's going on at the Danville Airport is helping our neighboring counties also. And we should be real proud of that Civil Air Patrol group, who, by the way, they've got a rented storage trailer out. They've grown so much that they have to put most of their equipment in a trailer at the edge of the property. We have several flight schools at our airport now. The Wings Flight School and Maintenance Program is the largest group on the airfield at the moment. But in addition to that, we have a new pilot training, what we call tail dragger endorsement, as well as your initial training, a fellow by the name of Brandon Beavers. And he's got a whole group of students that he's working with, and I see on social media about once every week or so where someone, and a tail dragger is an airplane where the wheels on the airplane are forward the center of gravity, which make it a little more squirrely when you're trying to land it. And so that's why they invented the tricycle gear aircraft, which is where the wheel is in the front, because it tends to be more stable. But they're these old airplanes are extremely popular, and you have to have an endorsement to fly them, and we have someone on the airfield that's doing that, in addition to teaching private pilots and offering instruction. We also have J.W. Lynn, that's been an instructor at the airfield for the last 40-plus years, who is a designated FAA examiner. So he is the individual that anyone that wants to get a pilot's license has to go for their final check ride. And we have people coming in from multiple states to work with JW, so we're lucky to have him on the field.
She gave me the 30-second. She gave me the 30-second reminder, so if you want to.
All right, well, let me slip on down to construction.
The money part.
Okay. Okay, so the KDA has offered us a $1.6 million grant to put in new airfield lighting that we will do next year. The city and the county helped promote for us to receive discretionary monies to move our entrance road, and that will be done early next year. Is my 30 seconds up?
Wow, that's great. No, go ahead.
Okay.
You got one more?
Okay, yep, no, I got quite a bit more.
Insurance?
And so with the airfield lighting, I'd like to announce that we've been able to get it designed so that most of the work's done at night so we can keep the airfield open. Traditionally, they're closed for a month, and that would be painful.
Wow.
And then the last thing I'd like to mention is that our city manager in Danville has been engaged with Beta Technologies over the last couple of years, and talking about putting an EV charging station out on the airfield. And as part of this airfield lighting project, the RECC has agreed to run three-phase if we were to get that done. And the biggest hurdle is the conduit, and while we're running the conduit out for the airfield lighting program, we're going to throw another pipe in the ditch and turn it up where the pad would go. So if it happens, we are ready.
Wow.
So,
That's great. That's good news.
is that enough?
All
You're
good.
A little bit more?
Yeah, all good.
All
All
right.
good. No, that's all good.
Okay. And so when we do move the entrance road next year, that's going to enable us to look for the next big project, which would be to run a taxiway up into the center of that property and be able to develop it with multiple corporate hangars and T-hangars. And our pie in the sky hope is to get an aviation maintenance technician school there. And we're already accruing funds because we have a very generous board member that's donating a bit of money every year to get a facility put in for the high school clubs and also the Civil Air Patrol to use to build aircraft and have high school aviation clubs in that building that we would put up front. And so it's going to enable us to use that property along the entrance of the airport for schools.
Okay. He almost took the time for questions. Commissioners, you have any questions, Mr. Cowell?
Just thank you so much. This is exciting, and I love to see, being proactive with the EV charging and future plans, so thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, you want to move the other airport item while
Yes,
Rob's
sir. What
here?
number?
And it's a number 25. That way we
25.
can go ahead and,
25.
25.
Yes, sir, let's do that. With permission from the commission.
So moved.
Mr. Dexter?
Item up.
Thank you. Item 25 relates to an insurance claim at the airport from a tornadic event in December of 2021, which caused substantial damage. As you will remember, throughout that time, the airport board was insured at that time through the city's policy. That is no longer the case, but it was in 2021. And by virtue of that, the airport board has gone through the claims process and have rebuilt what was destroyed. The insurance company, through continuing discussions, there were improvements made to hangars 3 and 4 that were considered upgrades for code and updated policy reasons. And the airport board at their last meeting voted to accept an amount of $318,422.50 for those necessary upgrades to those 2 particular hangars. They are still questioning an amount for hangar number 5 that the airport board says were some necessary upgrades, but the insurance company is potentially disputing that to a certain degree. So what they would like us to do on their behalf is to accept the settlement amount for hangars 3 and 4 in that $318,000 amount, while continuing to negotiate for the upgrades to hangar number 5. So the resolution before you lays that out and allows the mayor to sign a letter to the insurance company endorsing what the airport board voted and asked the city to approve.
So is there a motion from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-11-13-10.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions to Mr. Dexter? Good news in one way.
Yeah. Have these already been built?
They have been.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Not a call for the question. All those in favor of Resolution 2023-11-13-10, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Quill, if you'll let the board know that the city took that action tonight and the letter will be signed and the mayor can mail it tomorrow. Thank you.
Josh Morgan, you have the unusual circumstances. Oh, I know. Wait. It's in our report, right? Okay. Next item is solid waste collection update.
Yes,
Josh
thank you,
Morgan,
Mayor,
Mr.
Commissioners. Todd Prayer is here with Republic Services. He's going to introduce himself to you all and give you all a little update from them. And then after he's done, I want to talk about a couple of things. We have upcoming changes to billing for solid waste that
All right.
everybody will want to know about. So-
This is gonna be a tough one, but let's see what happens, right?
Go ahead, Tom.
Mayor, Commissioners,
Yes, sir.
how you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. It's exciting to be here representing Republic Services. My name is Todd Prairie, like Josh said. I'm the Manager of Municipal Sales and Government Affairs. Been with the company for just over 17 years. Not new to this role, new to the area this year, replacing another. I've met with Josh a few times, starting off with a great relationship. And I just want to say I look forward to building this relationship and strengthening a true partnership with the city of Danville. And that's all I have for you. If anybody's got any questions on Republic right now, I don't want to go over 5 minutes, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Couple things that folks will see on their next bill. In our initial agreement with Republic, we had a annual CPI increase that was built into the contract based on, it's based on the national kind of garbage, and there was actually a defined CPI for their industry that we've used. So we actually didn't do the increase in 2022. Republic bypassed doing that increase at that time, so. But they've gone ahead and sent us the spreadsheet numbers that for 2022 and 2023. They're asking for a 4.151% increase in 2022 and then a 5.248% increase for 2023, which seems fair compared to the kind of the CPI numbers we saw locally on salaries and things like that. That's going to result in folks' next bills that they get, their $14 a month bill for garbage and recycling collection is going to go up to $14.58. That's the increase folks are going to see on their bill. And also the additional cart charge, which right now is $4 a month, is going to go up to $4.17. So everyone will see a moderate increase on their bills due to those. I mean, we've had high COLA and CPI numbers the past couple of years, so I actually expected higher numbers of this when we first started talking about it. So they'll see those numbers on the bills they're getting mailed this month. And then the other item is Republic completed a new additional cart audit. I think you all did that in June or July, somewhere in that range. We've spent the past month entering in those new, the folks that they didn't have the first time around that actually do have additional carts. Now, Todd, you all went through a process of calling folks, if you want to talk about that.
We actually did the audit earlier in the year, and we kept doing it for a couple months, and then we ended up calling people, asking if they had like 3 carts. We're like, do you really want the 3rd cart? It's going to cost you this much more, and they returned them back. So the number's about half of what it was.
Yeah, I think it went down from about 3,400 to about 2,100 now.
Yeah.
But there will be some folks that see a new charge on their bill that previously weren't getting that. But that is due to them having the additional cart. It shouldn't be something that they're getting billed for something they're not receiving. If they disagree with the charge, they need to let us know as quickly as possible, and we can get that sorted out like we've done in the past. But the folks will see some changes on their bills. And everybody just need to look at it, make sure that what they're billing for is correct, and let us know if it's not. So.
What was it going up? The carts are going up for?
So your base bill will go up from $14 to $14.58. An additional cart charge will go from $4 to $4.17.
When will that start?
The bill they're going to receive this month. Their bill for, the bills that'll go out that are due December 10th.
Okay, so we'll probably put some information out, hopefully on the
Yes.
website and stuff. So people
Melanie
can
and
see.
I have talked about that. We were going to talk about it tonight and then start putting out news to everybody. So.
Any
So-
questions or comments?
And the recycle can is free, right?
Recycle can is still free unless you want
Okay.
2. There'll be additional cart
Okay,
charge
thank
on
you.
that.
And the contract, how long is it? I mean,
It's a 5-year contract.
Right.
If it started in 2021, it'll end in June of 2026.
2026, okay.
We like to say it will extend in 2026.
And I will say, everybody, we've talked in length about issues we've had with Republic in the past and previous meetings. We've had folks here, and Earl and I kind of agree. It's the 6 to 9 months since Todd has been over our area. We feel like have been slightly better. Statistically, I've gotten less calls and text messages and things like that since then. And we still want to be perfect. I mean, that's the goal,
Sure,
is to be perfect,
absolutely.
and we're not there yet. But we do feel like we're getting a little bit better service the past few months. So we still want people to reach out to us if there's issues. But reach out to Republic first, because Republic is over our customer service, and if people have problems, reach out to Republic. And that's another thing too, if you have containers that you want to turn in, or if you disagree with the bill, call Republic first. Republic should be able to take care of you and let us know of things if there's issues that they need to remedy on our billing, they can let us know about it. I think that's a more efficient way for people to address these issues than calling the city, because sometimes with us, it can get a little lost in the mix because we have a lot of different departments. Their one focus is solid waste, and if people are calling about their solid waste bill, they can get it taken care of. So it's better if folks call them first before they call the city.
Is there one particular number to call for customer service like that, or is it?
There is, Commissioner, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know off the top of my head for this region.
I'm
I'm still learning so many
I don't
things.
even know my own.
So my area is shrinking finally, because they enlarged it quite a bit, but technically I was going from Meade County all the way out here to Danville, Stanford. So they finally found a replacement to take some of my western stuff, so I'll be able to spend more time out this way.
So we will definitely put those numbers and things on the website and Facebook info that we put out. And also, we want, always promote their app. Folks can get on their app and sign
The
up
app is
for their customer
fantastic.
service
It
customer
really
service through that. That's the best way for folks
The
to
app,
get
you can
things
do
taken care of.
anything you want except like schedule a bulk item or something like that, whatever.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Maybe we could encourage people, I don't know, but I know of some people that put it on their city's click, the fix-it, service request. And if you could get that out there, that they could call Republic, it would help, I would think.
Yes.
Instead
Yeah,
of
it
putting
just
it in
takes
that
a step
little-
out of the process, because that's, we
Right.
turn around and we then contact Republic, and it kind of gets us out as a middleman in the process, which kind of, sometimes causes issues in timing as well.
Thank you
Now,
all.
I would add that Todd's been very responsive, and we appreciate his energy that he's bringing on behalf of Republic to us. It's been needed, and we appreciate his response.
Thank you, Earl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a certificate of approval of an appeal by Copper and Oak. Is someone going to present that to us, or are we going to just have a discussion on that?
Yeah, why don't you open up and begin the presentation, and then we'll.
Okay. Earl and I will tag team this one.
Yeah.
I will set it up from a legal standpoint, which is this. Copper and Oak filed a certificate of appropriateness application with the Danville Architectural Heritage Board for a painted sign located at 303 West Main Street. In your meeting packet, you will see their application, a sign worksheet, and on the staff report, you will see an actual photograph of the sign that was painted between the second and third floor of 303 West Main that says Copper and Oak in white letters on their black building. The sign was painted, and then the certificate of appropriateness application was filed. And so, and the DAHB, after discussion and hearing, denied the application. And the reasons for denial, I believe, are stated in the packet. The motion was something to the effect of typically signs are placed on the first level as opposed to between the second and third levels of buildings in downtown. And because of that denial and the fact that the sign was already painted, it was appealed to this body. Upon appeal, you have a couple of decisions to make. You can take the underlying record, which is before you, and you can you can either approve the sign, which would be a reversal of the Danville Architectural Heritage Board, and in doing so, create new findings of fact of why it is appropriate. Or you can deny the appeal, which would confirm the underlying decision that it is inappropriate. Those are your two decisions, and then the property owner's last point of recourse would be circuit court if they do not agree with your decision. So that's the overview from a legal perspective and a summary of the events that led us to today, and I'll let the city manager go from there.
So to begin with, we want to, I guess, start with a simple statement and to talk about the fact that they didn't comply with our process. I want to acknowledge that up front. We want to admonish them for that. However, we want to, in that the sign is there, we would like to consider that is not part of our thought necessarily. It's there, we can't do anything about it now. Yes, it's easy for them to say, well, we want forgiveness and all that. The reality is that they should have complied with the process. They had done that before in other signs, so they knew about it. And so setting that aside now, let's consider the sign and see, without laboring over that point, the sign was presented, and, you know, I thought about different ways how we could talk about it, but maybe going to the findings of fact, which is beginning on page 6, and thinking about those really summarized what my thoughts were on the matter. On page 5, you can see the picture with the 3 buildings immediately next to it, which is La Cosa Nostra and the Encompass building on the corner, and you can easily see the copper and oak sign affixed mid-level in the building. Moving down to the findings of fact is the sign was painted. The concern stated was that it could be considered an icon unto itself. It was noted the sign is not permanent as it is painted, and it can easily be painted over. The sign shape fits the profile of the building. It's natural progression of vertical and horizontal lines. In other words, I would argue that, you know, there is no other architectural necessary location that you would put a building sign on the structure with the way the architecture of the building is how I would interpret that. The sign does not obstruct the character and defining features and can be removed at a later date. I think that statement in their findings of fact is something I lingered on in terms of a recommendation to you, if I was going to provide one. I do think it is important then, as you read the next paragraph, the sign is problematic as it has already been completed. We acknowledge that. The sign is between the second and third story and is not oriented to the pedestrian. So that's the biggest conflict with the sign, is the fact that it is not on a first-story sign, that it is above the 20-foot number that's noted. The DHB denied it based on its proposed location between the second and third floor, essentially. But again, noting that, however, it is painted and easily removable. Whereas the other denied sign that was between the second and third floor was not painted sign. It was a fixed sign that had to be anchored to the building. And I do think that's important in that a painted sign, you can paint over it and it restore then by doing that the architectural integrity or the historical view of the building as if the sign wasn't there. So it is an easily restored building facade without a real permanent impact to the historic nature of the building. And so what to do with it, do you all want to talk about it at first and then hear more, or how do y'all want to proceed?
Any comments from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Any motions from the commission?
My issue is, pertains to what you said at starting off. I'm having trouble separating the lack of a permit from the denial of the sign. To me, they kind of hold hands. So that's what's got me. I have a problem with somebody being told no and then doing it anyway, hoping that they're going to get an affirmative answer later. My kids used to do that. But no, I mean, I can understand his frustration, everything that was going on, that he wanted to get it up there, but there's a procedure for that.
You can clarify for me, I don't know, I don't know from reading from the record if there was a request made that was denied and then it was painted and then an application sought. It was my understanding that the denial, there was no permission asked.
Oh,
Just put up.
okay.
There was no permission, I think the facts are that
Right, that's the
no permission was asked.
Okay.
So it was painted without permission, and then they were told it's not appropriate.
Gotcha.
What Earl was referring to in the record was that the DAHB previously denied an application for a second floor sign on the other side of Main Street. That was denied. However, it was somewhat of a different request in that it wasn't a painted sign, it was an affixed sign that would be drilled into the mortar joints of the building. Am I correct in that?
That's correct. I wasn't clear enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that
Okay.
Farmers that got denied?
I believe that was Farmers National Bank.
Okay.
Farmers.
Yes, that was accurate.
So one of the things that we would, you do have to consider conformant, whether or not the sign conforms to the environment that it's in. I do think that's important to think about. And also the architectural integrity of the building. So for example, in the image on page 5, the La Cosa Nostra sign, the commission overturned DHB in that instance. But as you can tell from that building, the architect clearly located that area as the place where the sign's going to go on the structure. And it appears like a single-floor facade, although it's very tall and obviously a two-story building. And so any of these buildings have that type of consideration by the architect. And so one of the things you're considering is conforming to the environment. Are there other signs around it at that elevation? Yes. The Farmers National Bank sign on the opposite side of the street is in the soffit at the top of the building. It's above the second floor. The Chase Bank is above the first floor but below the second floor, which is on the opposite corner of this. And so it's in a weird area where signs are located in different elevations and different styles. And so the Chase Bank sign is backlit, the Farmers Bank sign is bolted on letters, the La Cosa Nostra sign is a single sign, and then this copper and oak sign is painted. So you got different style sign in that area also. So conformance and, where did the architect intend for the building to host a sign? I think that's important too. That, on the structure we're talking about, that question's not easily answered.
Josh, how big tall do those trees get, the ones that were just planted?
Well, I think it's how tall are we going to let them get? And I don't know if we'll all be around to make that decision or not. But I mean, they'll eventually be as tall as the ginkgo trees were before we cut them down.
I was just curious how, when they would interfere with, when it would be necessary to raise signs just to see them, or if it would be. I was just curious. But it'd be a while.
Yeah,
from now.
it'll be a while because these are slow growing. Most of them are oak trees, so it's going to take a while.
Okay.
But I think it's also a little bit, there'll be an evolution of that. As right now, the good place will be up high, but in the future, one day, the good place will be down low because that's one of the things we're going to try to do better. Like I say this, we're going to try to do better. I'll be gone by the time we have to do this, but we'll need to trim them up from the bottom and make sure we keep our first floors visible. We didn't do a good job of that in the past. So it's kind of one of those things that will change over time as the trees grow.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Commissioner, to your earlier comment, I respect the fact that it's difficult to sometimes distinguish the process from the result. However, I think it would be, what you're trying to decide needs to try to be separate. So therefore, while you could, for instance, provide censure to the applicant for failure to conform to the city's normal process, while then also evaluating the appropriateness of the end result. While somewhat nuanced, I think that's the situation that they put you in.
So then to follow up on that, then what would be our recommendation? And I think, honestly, which is in conflict with DHB, I would probably recommend keeping the sign because, and approving the location, because you do have signs at that elevation. And the most important part for me is that it's painted. It can be painted over without altering the structure of the building itself. Noting a couple of points. Painted signs are, so yes, signs at the pedestrian level are critical. A lot of times in downtown buildings, you'll see a building tag at a very high elevation. So if you go to a larger city where you have skyscrapers, you see that. part of that is so vehicles that are downtown, as you're coming up Third Street, for example, you want to be able to look and see that that's copper and oak. If you, to cite the actual name of the building, if you do everything pedestrian level, then that can create confusion for vehicles, right? That's something to consider. I would note, though, that painted signs, I know there's a building just down the street where we have a big, we have the correct sign on the front of the building, but then we have and I hate to call the building out, but it's the only way I can identify it. It's the McDaniel Wealth Management sign at the third floor of the building that's painted. That sign, you know, is probably considered, what would you consider that sign? Joni, is that a mural? How was that approved, if you don't mind me inter- Yeah, the sign that's facing east, up at the top of the building.
On the driveway.
Yeah, on the driveway side. That's perfect. Yeah, yeah, and so for me, if it's a mechanical sign that you're damaging the building to install it, I think you have to err on the side of preserving the building. But if we're gonna allow the McDaniel sign to be painted at the third floor height, I think you almost have to then narrow back to, is the sign the place where the architect would design the sign to be, and absent that, is this the most appropriate place on the building? And then is it consistent with other signs immediately near it? And I think I would have to recommend that you would, in spite of their obvious disregard for the process, I think you have to encourage, you know, marking in the downtown, and that's part of it, is proper signage. I think the important aspect, though, that should not be lost is that if the commission chooses to accept the sign as proper, I think that does not create a precedent. I think it's important to state that this approval does not create a precedence for signs, the proliferation of signs all over buildings everywhere. I think it's nuanced with this location because of the adjacency of the sign immediately to its left, the Chase Bank building immediately there on the corner, and also the Farmers Bank on the south side where you have the soffit sign that's up above the second floor. I think because it's right there in that spot, I think you might consider that affirmatively too. So that's my feedback. I don't know that it's popular in every sense. I know that, you know, the DHB denied it, but that's probably where I would land.
What, currently, we don't have any fine structure for, like, painting before you get a permit or anything like that.
Well, no,
To
we
me-
do.
To me, there has to be a,
We do.
we do?
We do.
Okay.
So any violation of any city code could be $100 a day. It could be up to $500 for repeated violations.
Okay.
So because of that, and I mean, the larger problem is potentially linked to alcohol licensing, in which if you're found in violation of city ordinance, then your alcohol license is revoked, is temporarily suspended until compliance is reached, and which is a significant, obviously, penalty if enforced. But compliance with alcohol licensing requires compliance with all city codes and state laws.
I'd like to make two comments to my fellow commissioners. You know, the rule of between second and third floors doesn't seem to apply to every building, and that's been pointed out. That, you know, there's not a space for that, so maybe that's something that needs to be changed in that rule. Another one is what is an icon? And I thought about that a little bit, and I will call it out. I'm okay with it. Is Whitaker Bank and Chase Bank actually have their logos up there. So what is an icon? And to go move a little closer to home in terms of a restaurant, Pizza Pub has their lettering that looks like their thing. So, you know, maybe the rules need to be looked at again. what we need to do.
That's what I
Yeah,
think.
the mayor and I have walked up through there, and there did seem to be a lot of signs at different elevations. I know that, maybe that's something Joni and I sit down and talk about and try to figure out if that needs to be addressed so that it's a healthy conversation. And I think the intent was to prevent the proliferation of signs everywhere. And I think, and to preserve the historical integrity of some of the buildings by not modernizing, all those elements and preserving the structures by not installing signs that are mechanically fastened to structures. And so I think that's an important part that we can't lose sight of.
I do want to say this. The design guidelines are not a lot of you shall do this, you shall not do this. They are aspirational and goal. So, for instance, there's nothing that says you can't have a sign above 20 feet. It says, for instance, it gives you a list of guidelines for signage that you're supposed to take into context and then make a subjective review on what is appropriate or not based upon the majority or the weight of those guidelines. So for instance, the one we're talking about tonight says that you should try to limit signage on upper levels of a building. It doesn't say you can't have it. It says limit signage on upper levels of a building above 20 feet as they are not oriented to the pedestrian. So sometimes we think they're quote unquote rules. They're not rules. They are meant to be reviewed in total of all the guidelines to determine what's appropriate or not. It's not an easy job that the members of the Architecture Heritage Boards have to weigh, but they're having to balance those guidelines to come up with a solution and a recommendation. So I don't know that I think it would be okay to say that signage should be oriented towards a pedestrian. I don't know that that's a bad comment, but it doesn't say that all of it has to be oriented towards the pedestrian. So we're talking about a pretty technical review, but I think the guidelines read in aspiration of certain goals is okay. So I don't know if we need to, we've revisited the guidelines recently, and I don't think, because they don't demand certain things, they only list a set of things to think about when making your decision. I think they're okay.
And I think it'd be important for us as a commission, I'm not in the business of trying to decide if Copper and Oak intentionally put the sign up without going through the process. I don't think that's part of my judgment. Part of my judgment is that it's on the building, and is it appropriate or not? That's to me basically what I think my decision needs to be based on. I wish I could sit here and say, well, yeah, they did it on purpose. They did it because they wanted to. I can't do that. I don't know them well enough to do that, and I don't think anybody would know me well enough to say I did it intentionally or not. It's happened. It's unfortunate that it happened before the procedure was done, but I think we got to stick to what's in front of us. Is it appropriate to be on that building on between the second and third? Well, it's on the second level, really, isn't it? Is it appropriate to be on that building on the second level? And is it detrimental to the way our downtown's historical integrity, or does it enhance the historical integrity of our downtown? Or does it doesn't do anything at all to the integrity of our downtown?
Yeah.
I'd agree with the mayor. So does that separate then the fact that they didn't apply ahead of time? Is that a different issue?
I think those are two separate issues, and it was the city manager's guidance that prior to the issuance of any fines, that the city manager asked the owners to submit an application and go through the process in lieu of issuing fines. So, and upon that request, they submitted the application, which has gone through the process and is here to you today. So again, I think the city manager valued some type of compliance and administrative review as opposed to simply issuing fines in this particular case to try to come to resolution. So that's why we are where we are. The owner has filed an application. It was denied by a vote of 3-2 for the reasons set forth in the application. that is an issue, but the mayor is correct. The one before you to decide should not be based upon the sole failure to conform with the existing policy, but rather the second part of, is it appropriate as it rests on the building today?
And with all those things said, the chair would like to ask for a motion to move this.
Well, I would like to say something, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I have a problem with not following our board's recommendations also, because we have them there for a reason. And you don't want everybody else to think, oh, well, I can just do this and come back and bring it to them, bring it to the commission after the fact. So, you know, that's where I stand, you know, with our board. I support, if we have it in place, we should listen to them.
And I respect that position and I only want to add this. You can't negate a very important role that you serve as a board of appeal. So in
agree.
such, that while you can highly value the service and the recommendation of boards, those boards exist to serve you and this community. And as such, as the final right of appeal on these matters, you have to maintain independent thought and can't either blindly accept or reject any recommendation of an underlying board, because then you would not be fulfilling your duty to the citizenry as a board of appeals, which is what you're being asked to do today. Difficult task? Certainly. However, that is the role that you are given as a board of appeals in this particular situation, to review it thoughtfully and independently without deference to an underlying decision.
So the motion needs to state that we accept the appeal and say the sign is okay, or we deny the appeal and say the sign is not appropriate. Is that some legal advice, guidance for me? Is there a third option?
Your motion would be either to deny the appeal, which would mean that the sign is denied
Yes.
and would be implicitly have to be painted over. Or you would vote to grant the appeal because you find it appropriate under the current guidelines.
Okay. So that's, what's your pleasure to the commission? There's no time frame on this one, is it? Or we just ignore it? But no, we don't want to do that, do we?
No, I believe you
Get
have
this
to
off-
act within
get
30.
this off
They
the
had to
table.
do appeal within 30 days, and I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
rightful for you to act
Yes.
judiciously.
So is there a motion?
Although I think the ARHB, Architectural Heritage Review Board, I'll get it right, did their due diligence on what they should do, I would say that we go forward with keeping the sign, which is what? Denying the appeal,
That would be,
That's
that would be approving the appeal.
approving the appeal.
Yeah.
That's my motion.
Is there a second to approve the appeal that's presented before us, allowing the sign of copper and oak to remain? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions or comments?
I was going to make, since you've broken it down into two parts, essentially, what I had kind of as one part in thinking of it. The sign, I think I like the sign. I think it's appropriate. I think it is commensurate with the area. So if we're just talking about the sign, then I would be in favor of that, approving that.
And it's actually more attractive than faded, dirty awnings that are eye level. So it's very attractive. I think the bigger picture, we just have to discuss, why are we constantly overturning DAHB decisions? Because I respect our board deeply, and when will the guidelines be updated or modernized? It has to be a guideline issue where the community backs.
And that's what I was trying to allude to
You don't want to be
earlier.
wasting the DAHB's time. They're the
These-
professionals.
These guidelines are highly subjective intentionally, so that members can weigh the equities before them as the facts change. So there are no definites, I will say, there are very few definites in the design guidelines. They are literally crafted in a manner to allow flexibility for particular fact situations as they arise.
Okay,
They are highly subjective by their intention.
okay, so they don't need updated and modernized?
They have been updated within
Okay.
the last 2 years, probably.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
You had a question, ma'am? Was that, let's make sure it's approved by the attorney, first of all. So let her speak.
Well, Jody, what are you going to speak to, I guess?
Actually, I
before?
just want to speak to the design guidelines and that process, because there seems, I don't want you to make a misunderstanding. There are some absolute in the design guidelines.
Come to the microphone, ma'am. Come to the
Sure.
microphone.
Well, what I'd like to do is not get into conversation about design guidelines at this point. We have a motion on the floor in a second. I'd like for them to vote. We can continue the conversation about design guidelines either at this meeting or another one. But what I don't want to do is to flip this conversation into a full conversation of the design guidelines at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think part of that conversation also would be what you call censorship and them not following the proper, not following the proper procedures.
I think it's possible for you to admonish the property owner for not following the process and then still make a ruling on the appropriateness of the sign.
So there's a motion and second. Any other comments or discussions? If not, let's carry this motion. All those in favor of granting the appeal to allow the sign to remain, for clarification, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, so let the record state that the vote was 4-1. We had Commissioner Peak voting no. I lost my spot. Okay, let's go on then. We have a banner request for Downtown Christmas Festival. Mel, are you doing that? Oh, we're just gonna do it? Okay.
They're just asking to hang the banner for the 3 weeks out in front of City Hall leading up to the Christmas parade.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And it's been, so the recommendation is that we allow the banner request for a downtown Christmas festival. December the 2nd and December the 9th are the highlighted dates, I guess?
Yes.
Okay,
It'll hang at City Hall starting Monday, the next Monday, and then it'll hang until the weekend of the parade, and then it'll come down after that.
it's gonna replace the banner that's gonna highlight my birthday, is what you're trying to say?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I move for approval of the banner request for the Christmas festival.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Request is granted. The next item is a beautification committee appointment. You have that name in the application in your packet. Is there a motion to accept this nominee?
I move to accept Candace Arnold as a beautification committee member.
Second?
Thank you all for the, okay. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of the beautification committee appointments, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you all. Next item, we skip it number 9, we've already completed it. Human Rights Commission appointment. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Ms. Brianna Mullings to the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. I want to take time to thank the commission for your input, your assistance in getting people for these committees, especially when we have vacancies or whatever. And we the city manager, city clerk, actually, Ray and I, have been working to update the application form and to update a one-page flyer that will show all of our committees and what their tasks are, the tournament office, and da-da, and da-da. So that'll all be coming out to the commissioners, and we post it on our website, another update real soon. So thank you all. The next item is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which will be, what was the date?
10/23/23. I move to approve.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Any corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving our minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Melanie Crossfield, you're next for the communications update. Man. For those who are waiting, we're about halfway in our agenda. We got a ways to go. I'm trying, we got a ways to go, all right?
I'll be quick.
Yeah, right,
promise.
okay, go ahead, all right, okay.
I was just going to provide I gave you a few notes here. We are growing in our engagement. We have the newsletter that started up earlier in the summer, and so our subscribers are growing there. So if you're not subscribed to that, you can go to the city's website, and there is a pop-up form that'll come up when you visit the site. You'll get an e-newsletter every Friday, just a weekly update, real brief, and then one monthly e-newsletter that's kind of broader. And then I'm going to make another plug for the community gift card. We now have 40 participants. You guys, you just wait till you see it. I'm your commercial break. You're going to love it. So we have 40 participants for the community gift card. So just remember that when you're doing your holiday shopping, that you can go on our city's website and purchase a Danville KY gift card for your recipients to use at 40 local businesses. And then we do have a few upcoming events that I want to mention. The Titletown Turkey Trot is the 5K at Millennium Park, and you can sign up. You can find that at the community calendar on our website. The Danville Small Town Christmas activities on December 2nd. I'm really excited about that, and the tree lighting will be that night at 7 o'clock. The Small Town Christmas Festival activities on December 9th will end with the Christmas parade at 6 p.m. And then we are planning kind of a downtown celebration to celebrate the new beautiful streetscape and all the activities that are going to happen down here on January 20th. So just go ahead and mark your calendars for that. And as we've discussed earlier in the year, we're working on the landing page, and what that's going to be is just an online directory pretty much for our whole community and any visitors. But part of that package and part of that process was a media creation package. And what that includes is a commercial, essentially a video that will be highlighted on our website, and hopefully we can get it on TV. But we have some stars here. I did invite some of the people that participated in the video, and we had a lot of community involvement with this. It was a really fun project, so I want to show you. It was so fun, and you had a good time. Don't
Will
lie.
there be a time for autographs after? Or?
Yes, and so this is live on our YouTube page now. We're going to share it on Facebook so you guys can share it with the world, but please enjoy.
Get your start in the city of First.
Maybe you're looking to try something for the first time.
Take an art class.
Indulge in a cup of award-winning coffee.
Experience world-class performances.
Or maybe you're taking the first steps
Toward following your dreams.
Like attending college. Learning a trade.
Or even opening a business.
Whatever comes to your mind first, Danville's the place to get your start.
It's a place where history meets innovation, where industry meets craftsmanship, where culture runs deep.
So
think-
my
I
wife
think you've
got me this
snagged a beer
weird new,
before. Like you practiced it.
What was that? That was at 6:30 a.m. in the morning at Constitution Square. Sun had not. Felt like 6:30 time I got finished with you all.
That was
Now,
great, though.
Mel can tell you all I said that, what, 1,000 times before she said it was okay? Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
And I will tell you that last shot where the drink is coming down the bar, we had a good crowd there, but this is our star of the show. And this is our other star who swung it down the bar.
Yeah, y'all done that before, I bet you. That looked practiced.
It took 14 takes.
Yeah, he didn't mind, did he, Josh? He was happy to catch him.
That makes me feel better then, all right. Let's move right along. Kevin, you want it now?
Pardon?
You want your 5 minutes now?
No, I'm good. I can go.
You okay? All right, okay. Let's go to the next item then. Resolution 2311-1301, the BCTC EPA grant endorsement. Mr. Boyd.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Recently, just real quick history here. Myself and Marshall met with BCTC recently, and they have presented us with what we think is a good opportunity to endorse an EPA grant. The grant itself, it's the Innovative Workforce Infrastructure Development Grant. That's a mouthful, but anyway, the purpose of the grant is to provide funding for the education, training, and staffing for water and wastewater operators. I know we've had a lot of discussions recently about some of the challenges in the utility industry. We know that we've got several looming retirements that are coming in the next 12 to 15 months. And so long story short, BCTC is going to be the program sponsor and submit the request for this grant. Staff's asking the city to endorse the grant as a potential recipient of funds. What's really nice about this grant is there's no matching requirement. If we're awarded funds, the range of funding would be in the range of $250,000 to $1 million, which we would use towards, training, development. We recently signed a partnership with Kentucky Rural Water Association for their apprenticeship program. This funding could help go towards that program of building new operators. And again, we feel like this is a crucial need for the city, especially as we have an aging workforce. Not only citywide, but statewide. It's a statewide issue, and really the EPA's recognized that as a nationwide issue. And so in summary, the grant application deadline is November 17th. And so we're, again, just in closure, we're asking the commission to support BCTC in its endorsement of applying for that grant.
Wow. Commissioners, that sounds like good news. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-11-1301.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
There you go, second.
$250,000 to $1 million and no match?
Yeah, and just a little statistic here. The average operator for us, if you were to hire we call them trainees, but probably realistically would be an apprentice. Average total labor cost for one position is roughly $100,000 to the city. So even if we were rewarded the minimum, that would probably allow us to at least hire 2 apprentices for different water sectors based on, Marshall's analysis of what they need.
Well, that's great.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Is Raider IT surplus the next item?
Is this, in your packet, you have a list of items that IT presented to surplus through Gov Deals. We're just asking that you approve those items.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll approve Resolution 2023-11-1302.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, resolution passes. Mr. Coffey, the first reading of the Crown Act ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. You have in front of you a proposed ordinance to consider the request made by some citizens, specifically Ms. Burton, and Ms. Weathers. We were balancing the discussion with the existing documents that the city had on file, and so we're fine. And Stephen, you may want to describe the intent of what you're doing a little bit, or what you've prepared. But at the end of the day, we felt it worthy to consider by incorporating it into the existing ordinances, but a deference to the city's proper role. And I think that's important, and we don't want to lose sight of that, right? The proper role in human rights and constitutional rights, for example. Go ahead, Steve.
So when the request was made to the commission and upon your instruction to proceed and find where it fits into city ordinances or through an ordinance format, we have an existing ordinance that relates to fair housing, public accommodations, and employment that prohibits discrimination in those areas of fair housing, public accommodations, and employment. And therefore, upon review of what other communities have done with similar requests, the city of Frankfurt amended their ordinance of a definition of national origin to include the terms specifically outlined in the Crown ordinance that was before you. And so if you flipped the ordinance, and that's exactly the model that we followed, the word national origin is now in the definition section, which will include national origin includes natural texture and color of hair, hairstyles, and protective hairstyles. And then does the same definition that was provided for in the Crown Ordinance, which is a national movement, but this localizes it and puts it in our existing ordinances in the right chapter by simply providing a definition, which would therefore prohibit discrimination based upon that fact.
Okay.
Procedurally, the process is if someone feels that they have been discriminated against for one of these protected classes in fair housing, employment, or public accommodations, can file something with the city manager, and the city manager refers that to Frankfurt for review by the state Human Rights Commission. We wanted to be careful to note that for people that we're not creating a new avenue for enforcement. It's merely a category. It expands an existing category of classes that cannot be discriminated against.
Okay. Questions or comments from the commission?
I move for approval of the first reading of ordinance 2023.
Second.
Thank you, sir.
I guess we need to read that.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
National origin, I think that was a good choice. That would then cover more than what was requested here, such as burqas and so forth.
Such as what?
I think I got
The hair.
correct, yeah. Well, I know the Indian folks that wear their burqas, is that what it's called? That would
Yes.
cover that too.
Yeah, it would.
So we're covering a
So-
lot of ground is my point that I'm bringing up.
That's correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Other questions or comments?
Thank you for working on this, because it was important to the community, so thank you.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, you want to read this?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 2023, an ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky, amending Chapter 5.5 titled Fair Housing, Public Accommodations, and Employment to add a definition of national origin to prohibit discrimination based on natural hair texture and style.
Thank you, ma'am. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cottle,
Yes.
Commissioner Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you, staff. City manager's report? You've already had it?
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. We do want to reconfirm some dates. Again, Thanksgiving, the 23rd and 24th, City Hall's closed. You have a regular scheduled commission meeting on the 27th. Melanie noted the 2nd and the 9th, and then the December 6th is a date I'd like you to mark as the date we'd like to do the Homeless Initiative Forum, which is our initial discussion with the subject matter. We're going to do that at 4:30 PM here at City Hall. So after tonight, we will really push that out and try to make sure those interested parties are able to make it. That's the night that we settled on. December the 11th, yes, December the 6th at 4:30 PM, and we'll have that here at City Hall so we can record it potentially.
Okay. But we
December the
don't-
11th is a regular commission. Got a comment?
Do we need a quorum for the
No.
6th? That's a community.
That is
Okay.
not a commission meeting.
Okay.
That is a listening session.
Okay, thank you.
Right. December the 11th is a regular commission meeting. Now, I would like to bring back the 27th. That is a Monday following the Thanksgiving break. And I'm curious if you all would like to move that meeting to the Tuesday after the 27th so that we're not coming back, and turkey hangover for Kevin's pretty heavy from what he's, but just as a thought, my ask is do you all want to move the 27th to the 20 and make it a special call meeting on the 28th?
I do not. What do you feel?
I'm good with it on the regular day.
Okay.
No.
I'm
I'll
good
lay
either
out
way.
turkey.
Y'all good?
Another date that we
Thanks,
had
Bob.
marked was December the 13th. We reached out with the county judge, and she has left us, but we were talking about having a joint city-county Parks and Rec follow-up meeting. And speaking with her, the city clerk reached out today, and I think what they'd like to do is do something mid-January. And that's, so that meeting's pushed to mid-January at the request of the county. And we didn't find conflict with that. And so we'll move in that direction on that. Then another date that we don't have that we would like to mention is the training. We would like to schedule a training session with the commission. We know that we did not get that done necessarily. We know that training comes from KLC, and we all went to KLC, but we'd like to not have a retreat, but like to get the commission together in a workshop setting so we can reiterate some of the city manager form of government, the training that we would receive at KLC. We'd like to bring that to you. I think some of the commissioners had asked for that, and so we'll try to schedule that through the holiday break at some point between the 11th and mid-January. Downtown streetscape, we can see the final paving is essentially done now. The traffic signals, I think they're shipped. Josh, is that?
They were supposed to ship Friday. I played phone tag with Pace all day today to get a confirmation of that. But I spoke to our electrical subcontractor. They hadn't heard anything that it had not shipped, but I don't have a delivery date yet. But those should be in soon.
And then the old street lights, the box, those are coming out. I know that the mayor and I saw some of those missing today. And so the area where there's loose gravel you'll start to see that tidied up over the next few weeks. I'll skip down the audit. We sent the audit letter back today, so hopefully we'll get the finished 22 audit in the next couple of meetings on your agenda. And then we would like to talk about a couple of projects. The downtown master plan, we're actively working on that project. I know folks, it's a little bit gray, and maybe, we will try to give more of a what's next. The streetscapes are wrapping up. What should the city be doing to promote the downtown master plan? So we may try to talk about that with a little bit more texture at an upcoming meeting, but understand that the city staff, that is what I'm working on. That's what we are focusing on. The landowners around that, all those issues that are accompanying. For example, the idea of residential housing downtown. Michaela and I talked about it a little bit today. Do we need to have an overlay district downtown that requires a minimum 2-story building construction with first floor retail and upper floor residential? What does that look like? What area of town does that go in downtown? So there's all kinds of elements to the downtown master plan that we're trying to lean into and circle back and start to touch as we're finishing up the streetscape. And we'd like to bring that to your attention. Also, the police officers and firefighter positions. So we were doing the compensation plan, spent a lot of time with the Hannah study. Randy did a great job during the budget process to have a budget employee compensation proposal for the budget, and we felt like at the time that was a next good quality step. What we noticed in the market, though, so the Hannah study and our salaries are, we've tried to orient those towards the market data. What we saw is an investment in the police officer position and the firefighter position that is probably pushed those salaries above, a significant step above the market that Hannah had determined in January, kind of the December period. And so what we may do at the next meeting is, Randy Boyd's working on this. We've talked to Tony Gray. We've talked to Chief Simpson, Fire Chief, about, what's our reaction to that market demand. We know we've lost a couple police officers in the last 6 months. And so what we would like to do is bring back some type of proposal on the compensation for those two positions to try to stabilize that workforce. It may be a mid-year adjustment, but we're investigating that, and we'll bring something, or at least the other conversation to you, hopefully at the next meeting, to start that process. Keep in mind that 3 years ago, we did the Hannah study, and we broke out. We were very much under market in a lot of positions. The move to get to market was a 3-year step. We said at the time, before that third year will not look like necessarily the first or second, that we'll do a follow-up study before we take that next year. We did that last year, and then that the market had moved away from us a little bit, so we broke that last step into 2 years, and the market moved away from the police and fire officer positions in July. And so that's it in a nutshell, but just understand that that's coming back to you. And we will hopefully have a more comprehensive presentation to you at the next meeting. If not, it'll be the December meeting. COVID memorial, we've talked, and Commissioner Holland brought this to my attention again, that we really hadn't gelled around what that would look like, and we had committed to doing some type of COVID memorial tree or some event to understand and to memorialize what happened during the pandemic. What we have come up with and talking to Melanie, is what we'd like to do is align the city's dedication with the national memorial that's scheduled for March. And so we don't want to preempt that. What we'd like to do is do something in concert with that. And so we'll bring that forward to you over the next month or so that you'll understand what that would entail. And if you have any feedback or anything you would like to add, if you'll give that to us at the next meeting or something, that would be helpful, and that would help guide staff as we develop what that looks like. The one additional thing I'd like to mention, and Michaela's here, and I would like for her, if she doesn't mind, to come up to the microphone. So the comprehensive plan for this city that we're right in the middle of, do you want to give them an update on that, and talk about the Bluegrass ad and some of our obstacles?
Yep. The Bluegrass ad has had some staff turnover. Joe Black, who was working on the comprehensive plan, has resigned from the ad. He's moved on to Lexington MPO. So they are dealing with some staffing challenges. I did meet with the director last week. It sounds like they brought one new person on, but they would still need another to be able to complete the plan most likely. So we're kind of exploring options. I brought this to Earl and Julie's attention a few weeks ago. So we're kind of exploring whether we do it in-house as a collaboration with the ad, or start looking at other options, but.
So thank you. So I, and not asking for direction, but what we're kicking around as staff is how do we proceed? One of the positions I took for a while was that we need to get somebody else to contribute to buy-in for the community, so that if it's just the city staff and the county staff hosting these meetings, that we do sometimes lack credibility with the average citizen. But I would add that Michaela's here, and with her experience in developing planning and doing things, it's a little bit different than the way we've approached it before. Michaela would be an expert, and so that's one of the options that we would have, is just to continue to let her take the lead in the short term, and then let the Bluegrass Ad support her more, rather than them taking the lead and us supporting them. And so understand that's a problem. If you have any thoughts, please share those with me over the next couple weeks. I would appreciate that. If you have any specific ideas that are we've not mentioned. Recall, we did an RFP. We had 3 entities to help facilitate that. The lowest cost option was the ad. KLC was the second choice, I think. Isn't that fair at the time, maybe, or did they? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
They were, their bid came in higher, and they didn't have mapping services, so.
Right,
yeah.
and so they were
And we
quite a bit
looked at
higher, and
EHI as well.
and then they were busy too.
Yeah.
That, you know, the need to update and modernize comp plans kind of is aligning with there's always somebody needing the work done, and so that's kind of where we're at. I want to make sure I brought that to your attention. Michaela, I appreciate her bringing it to my attention. And so we'll just look at it together and try to figure out a recommendation to proceed. And certainly, if you all have any feedback, we'd take it.
Yep, and I did talk with them about the contract and what it would look like if we were kind of to take over the lead, and they said they would work with us on that, so we would probably reevaluate the fee that we would be giving them, but I don't know what that would look like right now, to be honest, so, sorry.
But they would still do the mapping, right?
Yeah, I think they could do the
Okay.
mapping, and it sounds like the new staff person that they brought in can provide a good deal of help with some of the base study and writing and things like that. So that would take a lot off my plate as far as some time-consuming aspects of the comp plan, so.
We even talked about hiring an intern, hiring somebody as a part-time, employee to help. I think you're better off probably to use that because of that mapping and because, you know, that is a trained person. So we're kicking that around, and we'll come back to you for another update in a couple weeks.
Yep, and I'll try and get with the county more too. Like I said, I've mostly just talked with Earl and Julie Wagner about it, but I'm kind of just filling this out as we go, so. All right, thank you all.
I think that's all I had intended to verbalize.
You touched on the 13th of December, about the Parks and Rec thing. I have
Yes.
down on the 13th, there's going to be a city-county employee luncheon on the 13th.
That's
Being
the
done by-
reason we're pushing it, yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's still going to be on this, what, was it from 11 to 1 or something?
Yes, sir, I think so.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Any questions?
Hey, could you give us I'm sorry,
City Manager, go ahead.
and I know Josh has the answer, quick update on our memorial over in front of the fire station. It's for the public.
Yeah, we are having a horrible time finding a stonemason to finish that project for us. I've called several, Rick Henry, the Public Works Department's called several, Earl's, I mean, I have asked around. I mean, I know that's just kind of an excuse, but it's kind of just where we're at. We've kind of just been, we would love to get that project finished. The statue is here at the fire station. It's ready to be installed. We're just kind of really struggling to find somebody to do that work. It's kind of that kind of project's in between. It's too big for our local folks to come in for the city and have all the city requirements that are necessary to work for us, and it's too small for the big companies to come down and do the work. So we're having trouble getting anybody excited about the work and getting us a price. I mean, we've met with several and waited on quotes and not received quotes. So if anybody out there is interested in doing the work, reach out to me. I would love to meet with them and show it to them.
That's a good question, and thank you.
Any other questions for the City Manager?
And Earl, I see on here you were going to work with the food trucks to ensure uniform enforcement. What's the change? What's going to be done?
Well, we are working with the chief of police, and Tony's back there too, but we're trying to realign the code enforcement into the police department. We, you know, recall, Miss Milby, Miss Lester retired, and so then we had the other code enforcement officer resign, and so we're working on how we restructure that department. However, we do enforcement. Enforcement was being done. It was a little bit misunderstood, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're doing a good job, and so we did have a meeting with the representative that was here. We've left him our number, and we'll certainly be willing to discuss and talk with him in the
Are we being
future.
proactive and going out and looking versus waiting for a complaint, or?
We have done some of that. Some of the vendors that was highlighted, you know, you have to catch them, and some of them are coming in off of hours too. And so that's something that Chief and I have got to sit down and figure out how we're going to make sure that no one does slip through the cracks. I do think that you had compliance with your local vendors, the folks that are coming in and out. Some of those probably have been missed, but we've got to make sure we try to capture those. Yep. The complaint he had was credible. We certainly listened to it and took his advice, and, you know, we'll follow up. Yep.
Other questions or comments to the city manager? Thank you, sir. This is the second Hear the Public opportunity where citizens can approach us and talk to us about, is anybody anything they want to talk about, as long as it's legal, and we'll listen. And I would really stress the 3 minutes or less this afternoon, this evening. Anyone? Beat them all up. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go on then. Commissioner comments. George about took care of all of them, didn't he?
To be brief, I was just going to say I enjoyed the Sister Cities Irish
Yeah.
meet and greet the other night. That was well done. Everybody had a good time.
Gallery hop was nice, and the downtown looked nice with the lights.
Yes. Yeah. The frame and the book and the coasters in the front here were donated to the city by our sister city visitors. So I wanted to show them tonight and have them displayed someplace appropriately at City Hall.
We gave them a parking ticket and a key to the city. Even change.
And yeah, and to be brief, I just want to thank too, like Commissioner Peak and the mayor and the county for the Veterans Day Appreciation Lunch. It was just wonderful. So thank you to everybody that volunteered.
Anything? Good. All right. Oh, y'all concerned about the time too? Then. Okay, let's go on then. And commissioners, let me say this. Me asking presenters to do 5 minutes or less was just a last minute sort of brainstorm, and I'm going to apologize to Rob Cowell because he was the first one to come up and do the test. But we just got to figure out some other ways that we can expedite, but yet be thorough in our meetings. Okay? So I'm open to suggestions as well as the city manager, and of course, the city attorney has to be open to hear our suggestions about those types of things as well. Okay, and I do have another one that I'll talk about later on that involves all four of you all in our meetings. Okay? All right, let's go on then. Next item is payment of bills.
I'll move to approve the bill list in the amount of $1,483,337.75 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Second,
Second.
any questions or comments? All those in favor of paying our bills as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
What did we do? Everybody
Left.
made them all mad.
7:30. I said 7:30, but I didn't make it, did I? Resolution 2023-11-1303, Ms. Compton.
So you may remember from our last meeting, you all signed or approved for the mayor to sign several individual distributor agreements for the opioid settlement. That was, those were agreements with Walmart, CVS, the actual distributors of the opioids. To participate in the settlement, we have to sign a collective agreement. It's just a piece of, a step of the process. that we have to complete before we can receive any funding from the distributor opioid agreement, which, if you all remember, there are two that have currently been settled. The Janssen settlement, which we've received the funding for, the distributor settlement. There is still an ongoing one with a lot of states. I think Kentucky's participated with, I can't remember their name.
It's okay.
I knew it at 5:30, so. But when that one is settled, we'll have some more paperwork for you guys to sign so that we can participate in that one as well. But we need this form approved by you all and signed by the mayor so that we can pursue the funding associated with the distributor settlement.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-111303.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, let's go on. Next item is 1304, the Spears Creek Pump Station easement. Oh, Marshall, okay. Mr.
Thank you,
Carrier?
Mr. Mayor. This is the first of three utility easements that we need to procure with some constituents out in the city and the county. This first one is related to our Spears Creek Pump Station improvements that we recently awarded. This is for a temporary construction easement around that fenced-in area just to allow some extra space for materials and equipment.
Is there a motion?
Move we approve Resolution 2023-111304.
Second.
Mr. Dexter, can we do all three of these together?
That'd be fine with me, as long as you read all the numbers.
All right. Why don't you talk a little bit about each one of them, Marshall, then we'll lump them together.
Okay, yeah, that was the first one. The
sir.
second one is regarding a sanitary sewer easement for the installation of 15-inch gravity sewer lines along the Ghost Pike area for a sewer project. And then the third is acquisition of utility easement at AutoZone at 611 South 4th Street for construction of a 27-inch gravity sewer line and manholes.
So you want to amend your motion to include all three of those? Do we have a motion?
I can do that.
All right.
Hey, let me go back and find the numbers.
It can just be so moved. The clerk can do that with your permission, sir.
He's sharper than I am, so yes. she has my
Yes.
permission.
And your second for all three?
Yep, second.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor of passing all three resolutions, 04, 05, 06, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Okay, let's go. That was good. Woo. Josh.
Yes, sir. Thank you all. This first resolution is to approve the design fee for Palmer Engineering to complete the design of the Boffman Avenue sidewalks. Good news, we found out a couple weeks ago that we've been awarded the TAP grant for this project, so the city will receive $400,000. We'll have to match that with $100,000. So that should cover the extent of the project. I had a video meeting with KYTC that are managing that grant last week to discuss the process. It'll be a pretty thorough process, but Palmer Engineering's very familiar with it. They've done TAP grants before, so they will kind of usher us through that. So this is $56,700. This will be their design fee, and we will fund that through the municipal aid fund. I told them I would like to complete this project in summer of 2024, and they kind of laughed at me and said it would take longer than that to get the paperwork done, but we're going to push as hard as we can to make that happen.
He laughed at Junction.
Yeah, I should have known better. I got to learn to add a year to things as we've learned this past year.
You did good,
So,
Josh. You did good.
So yes, we're recommending to approve the design fee with Palmer Engineering at $56,700.
North side or south side of Boffman Avenue?
North side.
North side. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to accept resolution number 2023-111307.
Thank you, sir. Second? Thank you, ma'am. No further questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all. 1308,
Yes, the city received bids for our wayfinding Phase 1 project on October 24th. We received 3 bids. The bid tabulation is in your packet. The low bid was from Signs Et Cetera in the amount of $139,859.00. The other 2 bids were around $190,000 to $200,000. I think the $139,000 is a good bid, considering the other interest that we got. So that's quite a bit more than our budgeted amount of $80,000, but we kind of knew going into this project that we didn't know.
Yeah,
what-
how long
what this
ago was
budget-
that? That's been-
That 80,000 was, we talked about that 80,000 about 2 years ago, and things
Yeah.
have changed a lot in those 2
They
years.
have.
So we're happy, I'm happy with this bid as far as it being a good market bid. So if we would like to proceed with this project, we recommend awarding the project to Signs Et Cetera. We will get started.
question, how many signs?
It's 19 signs.
Just 19 signs. Wow. Commissioner, what's your pleasure?
Approve Resolution 2023-11-1308.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second,
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments?
further discussion? Sure. Yeah, actually, CVB, I went to their meeting this morning, and per sign cost, they feel like you got a really good deal on it. Neighboring city had to pay quite a bit more per sign, so. I also kind of felt like maybe you should reach out to them, that they started this process way back when Jennifer Kirchner was there. And they may have a little money to,
Oh, CVB?
yeah.
Yep. Well, Kendall and I have been meeting quite often. They would like to use some of their ARPA money to do some wayfinding signage out in the county, outside of the city limits. They'd like to somewhat piggyback on our previous design and everything. So we're working through that process a little bit to see, because there's a lot of, I don't want to get bogged down in another 3-year design process for their signs. So we're trying to figure out a way we can streamline that and make that happen, because they have to spend that money, tourism has to spend that money before the end of 2024, so they need to make a decision pretty quickly on what they want to do. And Perryville's interested as well in putting some wayfinding signage down there. So we're just trying to figure out, this was good for them to see what this price was, so it kind of aligned them with, okay, if we're going to do signage, this is what we need to budget towards that. So we've been in communication with them along the way to make sure that they're
Yeah.
involved.
Fair.
And I wanted to add this too, this company, just to get a little background as we did our research, this company just completed the wayfinding signage project in Frankfurt. So they're familiar with the area and doing wayfinding projects that involve KYTC and encroachment permits, so.
Once again, a compliment. I think we came in at about $7,300 a sign, and what I heard this morning was $10,000 by a neighboring community, so that's a good deal.
That's good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed likewise, look cool. This is the last agenda item before we find out the bad news. 1309, KU LED conversion.
So I brought this to you all a couple months back with a project around Center College, converting the streetlights to LED. We saw the advantages of that project, looking at the conversion fees, how much they had gone down. So we reached out to KU to find another area to add to the project, just to expand it. They've recommended doing the lights along Cunningham Way in front of Millennium Park. And they sent me the new numbers to that, and to my surprise, which I had to confirm with him before I brought it to you all tonight, our bills will immediately go down. And then in 5 years, they'll go down again, once the conversion fee falls off. So we will immediately save approximately $270 a month on our streetlight bills. If we convert these we took the project from 130 lights to 176 lights. So we are recommending to approve this agreement, which will actually, like I said, will save the city, immediately save us $3,500 a year, so.
Let me add some thoughts to that, too. There are not enough in the market lights to just change them all, right? So to go to KU and say, change all of the lights in the community is not really feasible. What So then in talking to Josh, what we'd like them to do is break up town into areas. Let's do Area A, based on their electrical grid. It's not necessarily going to line up with neighborhoods. It's not necessarily going to line up with a street. It may be something that we may not perceive. Saying that, then two is when you convert to LED, you get a little bit of different color, right? So what we'd like to do is convert a finite area that is contained, which is why when we were doing the energy savings contract with Train, we actively pursued changing the ones in Millennium Park, changing areas to LED, but the technology really wasn't quite there yet. Their rate structure wasn't there yet, and so the timing just wasn't good. Saying that, I think if you want to go ahead and do this, Center wants to change. And so that gives that footprint. We can add Millennium Park, and that gives you a boundary so that they won't look out of place if they're different colored. Does that make sense? So we want a sample area that's big enough to where you can really decide what you want to do in the future. Do you want to go ahead and convert all those? Because some folks like them and some folks don't. They're brighter at times. Some folks perceive them as not as bright, believe it or not. And so it does change the ambient lighting though. And so I want to, if that's not just something that we just want to do because we can, we want to make sure that's what the community wants to do. Some folks like that dimness that the traditional bulbs have. It's lit enough that you can see somebody walking down the street, but it doesn't overwhelm your house, for example, and make it daylight. So this is a compromise. This is two areas that are finite, doesn't really affect other areas of town, and so it would be a good trial area, is the way I'm looking at it personally.
The joggers would tickle pink with a Tavadoc been lit back up.
Yeah.
It was really amazing.
Yeah, it matters. It does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion? We don't have a motion, do we?
Let's see, I move for approval of resolution 2023-11-1309.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you all. Any other questions on readiness? Not all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Before we do the next item, I was trying to read a text. Pat Smalley's visitation is going to be Thursday night, 7 to 9 at Stitt Funeral Home. And the funeral's going to be Friday at 11 o'clock, this Thursday and this Friday, both at Stitt Funeral Home, in case you all wanted to know about that. Okay?
This is kind of associated, and you cut me off if you want to, Attorney Dexter, but speaking of Millennium Park, there's a lot of usage at the dog park, and there's a section of that road that doesn't have street lights. So at some point, I'd like to see that happen, especially now that the time has changed, because people are walking their dogs as dark.
So one of the things that Josh and I did talk about with the dog park, there's a couple things that we want to do is the picnic table. I've gotten some complaints on that where we move it around and it creates different muddy spots. So what we'd like to do is pour a concrete pad and set the picnic table on that so that, you know, you don't have mud on your feet. The other thing is the lighting complaint. Quicker than getting the street lights in, what I've talked to Josh about is, do we put a spotlight that lights the dog park? The park closes at dusk, but if that light was timed so that it went off an hour or so, you know, in that window, then the folks getting home from work could still use it, and you know, it would be a little bit accommodating, but it would still close the park at an appointed time. So those are a couple of the ideas that we have talked about, and then also there's a request for a bathroom back there at the dog park, and I don't know if that just is an update on other things. So you would know that we have heard about some of those.
Now, I love that idea. I'm talking about the streetlights,
Yes,
so,
and-
yeah, in Argyle Woods.
Yeah,
They sort of end about halfway down.
I bet
Well,
Kate-
you said dog park, and I hadn't mentioned it before.
I met I met KU out there, and we came up with, they sketched up a drawing to get streetlights underground. And then I got a price from a contractor, and it was $7,000 to install the conduit for those streetlights. So it was one of those where I need to figure out a way to fund that. That's just a little bit more expensive. I want to meet KU out there again and see if we can come up with a shorter link run of conduit, a planned, because there's overhead line across the creek on the west side of the creek that's just right there. So we're going to have to run conduit from almost up by the railroad tracks along the back of those houses, the patio homes to get it there. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do that more affordably than $7,000, because all we were going to get with the $7,000 was 2 street lights. We weren't even going to really completely light the street with that. So
The chair needs to entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have a need for executive session for property acquisition and quick personnel item.
Can't blame me for trying, can you? All right. Is there a motion for executive session? As stated by Mr. Coffey? Just say what he just said. Oh, no.
What?
I wasn't listening.
You got it?
Personnel.
Yeah, personnel.
Make a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61-810-1F, and also for 61-810-1B for potential real property acquisition for which publicly at present stage might or would likely affect the value per KRS.
Go, girl. Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, before you all move, though, there's Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, city manager, you have some items for us?
We would ask that you accept the resignation of Megan Prather from the position of utility clerk, effective 11/13.
Is there a motion?
I'll accept with regrets.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, ladies. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Virtual Summit Housing and Hope, is this Wednesday? There's several of us who signed up for it. It's a Zoom meeting. I was going to suggest we might come down to City Hall and
I thought
Do-
about that, yeah.
do it together.
Upstairs or do-
Yeah, wherever.
here or-
Yeah,
on big screen.
and do it. Ashley says it's okay, we won't be violating the law because it's training, right? It's training, right? All right. So it starts at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, right? Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Move, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Is it
then, right?
8:30 PM or AM?